I had this idea a while back, and what I wanted to do was take a fish tank and basically take some pond water and shine lights through it, and then take a lux reading on the other side of the tank. And it's taken me a while to get to this. I've had this idea in my head for a few months now. So what I did basically is I would take these different films on lights, then shine them, and then measure the amount of lux that actually make it through the other side. And what I did is in between each one of the test, I would stir up the water to keep the water consistency exactly the same. That's the only way I could do this and try to keep them all even. And I learned a lot quickly. And I don't know if this is going to really apply to actually being on the water, but there's a lot of interesting information here. Okay, I had to redo some of this audio track because when I finally saved it, the audio, somehow it didn't sync up and it just looked like hell. So this is part 2, an attempt to reclassify these. All right, so these are two 50-watt, 60-degree Viugreum fixtures with the EZ Amber. EZ was was part of the name of the eBay manufacturer or the seller, and then I just wrote down the color of film that particular seller had. And I'll probably have something like this in the item notes when I post these videos. But right here you got 285 lux after this light shines through about 14 inches of water that's stirred up. In between each test, just to reiterate, I am stirring the water to make sure the consistency is same each and every time. I'm trying to make sure that everything is equal footing when measuring the lux on the other side. This is that new Street, what was the name again, the eBay seller, Street Orange. This has the highest amount of lux and the lowest amount of kelvins. So this is doing a really nice job of dropping the kelvins very low and then still giving you a high lux reading. So you're not losing as much lux when you're dropping the Kelvin. And again, this has been the most promising one that I have found in the last year, and I have tried dozens of them. Okay, what we got here is another Viugreum 6th gen. I think it's a 250 watt, 120 degree fixture with the Street Orange. Again, this is an excellent film. And what you're going to see here in a minute is 532 lux. That's awesome. And you're looking at something that's just a little over 6 feet away. Fish tank's about 14 inches wide. I should probably double check that number. Nonetheless. In the next test here, what I have is a classic 100 watt 6th gen Viugreum light with no filter on it. So these are the way that you get them out of the box as warm whites. Most of these pull just over 100 watts. I've seen some up to 106, some been down to 98. And these are just the warm white version of them. As I was moving things around a little bit, I noticed the tape was starting to come undone on the lux light meter. And so what I did is I tried to retighten the tape and then just move the my support weight back into position to hold it, again, flush against the glass, trying to make sure that I'm only getting light that passes through the tank itself. So that one there was about 180 something, 185, 187. And then the next up, we got to stir the tank again. And, this is the one with the 6th gen. Oh, this is the no film again. 50 watt fixture. 50 watt 6th gen. This is actually my favorite light. I use this in combination with one of the 60 degree lights in the 50 watt fixtures, and this gives me the best coverage, the most even coverage and I used that last year. These are some of the new Viugreum LEDs that I've been playing around with. These are the new 100 watters. They're not called 6th gen or the Viugreum has not had a really good definition of these in the owner's manual as well. But these lights are performing really well and perhaps a little bit better than the 6th gen stuff. You can definitely see the difference in the type of fixture. This one here, I forget what film was just on there, but you could see that lux number was terrible. That was only like 72 lux or something like that. Here I'm showing here's the everybody's HPS crowd here. 400 watt HPS system with the digital driver. It actually pulls 439 watts. And here you'll see, again, some of the numbers that are coming through this water at that distance. And it is a 575 up to 578, 580 there. So that's quite a bit. But that's nowhere near the king of the hill there, though. And what I did now is on the digital driver, I turned it down to the 250 watt setting, which actually meters at 294 watts. And you get a meter reading in a second. And again, I just stirred up the tank. 361. Same thing again, but now having it set at the 150 watt setting. And at this setting, it's actually fairly close at 166 watts. I have not really played around a lot with this feature yet to figure out the efficiency of it and how much lux you're actually getting out of it. But nonetheless, it is interesting, and it's nice to have that option. That's one thing with HPS that you don't get with LEDs is you can really adjust the power. There's really no dimming switch per se on LEDs that seem to be working well. And this is now at about 156 lux. Okay, what we have here is the Viugreum 200 watt fixture. This is the classic 6th gen 120 degree fixture. Sorry you can't read it, what the wattage was there. I might have posted it. If not, I will post it soon. This is a warm watt light, and you see about 268 there in lux. Again, a nice light, but if you're getting that large, I think it's worth it to go to the 250s. Right here is a good example of the number 2 orange on the right and the new street orange on the left. The street orange is actually producing a lower Kelvin number and a higher lux number. So it's changing the color of your lights, getting it even warmer, and losing less light. That is the best film I have found so far. Most of the films that I've tested, they've been pretty close to the same. Some of the fluorescents have been worse. But this right here is the 6th gen with orange number 1 film on it. Orange number 1 film is a very good film. It's so far the second best that I've found for a good Kelvin color and yet giving you a high lux number. 532 there. So it's breathing on the almighty 400 watt HPS there, and I believe the Kelvins are actually lower than the HPS system. This is an interesting one. So this light here is a DC light. It is, they claim it's a 50 watt. I think it meters more like 35, 36 watts. And look at that number there, 925 lux. And the Kelvin on it is right around 2,400. I think it comes up here in the video pretty quick. But And this is a much tighter beam. It's more like a spot. So that's why part of the reason those numbers are just through the roof. And you can see it on the garage door back there, how it's just laser-like on there. I haven't had a chance to test this on the water yet. I don't know how high you would have to get it up, in the water to make it a shootable light area yet. Maybe it won't work at all. But it's interesting, and they're not terribly expensive. So I ran inside real quick, and I used a cutting board and like a paper cutter, and I cut up a couple of pieces of lens real quick. And one of these was a new Flo Orange that I just received the day that I'm putting it on this light here. Measured it out, and I started it too far to the right, and it runs out on the left. I missed it by about a half inch or so. In a minute here, you'll see me acting a little bit more frustrated because of that. Thinking to myself, yeah, fantastic. That's lovely. Great. Poop is what I think the quote was right there. Well, that's me and my frustration going over there looking at it, shaking the camera at it. And nonetheless, now I'm throwing on some, again, from the manufacturer, that street eBay seller. This is their yellow, not the Flo yellow, I believe, just the regular yellow. The Flo yellow I didn't even mess with. I don't think that's going to be useful at all. This one here actually started in the right spot, ends in the right spot. Yay, the way things are supposed to be. I haven't contacted this vendor about the proper way to apply this. I just put it on dry. Sometimes you can do it with some soap water. I do make sure I clean these off with a little bit of alcohol before I get going with it, but that's what it's supposed to look like when it's right. Hey, I never realized my top of my head glows like that. That's pretty damn cool. Looks like a gigantic Easter egg. All right, so what I'm doing here is measuring the kelvins of the Flo Orange here, and the kelvins are really low. It's like 1700, but I can tell that the light doesn't seem that bright, and the lux are going to be pretty pathetic. Yep, 114, 115 lux. For a light that size is really sad. It is the least performing. So here's a 50 watt, again 6th gen, with the yellow film on it, and I think it's really close to the 100 watt system when it was pulling. So again, a little off center there, but light's sort of bright to be looking at the meter than pointing the camera at the same place. And now the lux on this are 128 plus, so a decent lux output. Well, when you can't leave well enough alone, I figured, well, I'm going to do something interesting here. So what I did is I took 3 of the fixtures that were the 60-degree fixtures with 3 different colors of amber films on them, or oranges, and I line up along the table, and I forget, I measured them. So I measured these total of 6 fixtures at 258 watts. If you went by the manufacturer specs, it would be actually 300 watts. And what you'll see in here in a minute is a lux number which crushes the living poo out of HPS, and that number is in the 900 world, 920s, 30s, somewhere around there. And this could be even a higher number yet when you have the more improved amber films. I've been working on systems like this to mount it on my deck as a removable system for only muddy water, and also another system to see, how far I can have them up and get the most out of this. I really love doing this stuff, guys. I wish the best to you and yours, and hopefully you can learn something from this and contribute.